I am glad you clicked on this video. This means you can follow my road to insanity by getting 50 PlayStation 3 Platinum trophies before I hit 5,000 subscribers. Every new game will be chosen by a mystery wheel. If I don't complete the challenge, I need to get a Platinum trophy tattoo somewhere on my body. Make sure to subscribe so you can add some pressure and make me go crazy.
So it's 1, 2, 3. And then we spin. Oh no. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? No, 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 no. What's it gonna be? No way! No way! Oh no! This is the worst one that we could have gotten. Are you really serious about this right now? Oh man. No, I really don't want to do that.
The Just Cause 2 Platinum is not just intense, it's a psychological endurance test disguised as a video game. At first, it feels liberating. Rico soaring through the skies, grappling across mountains, blowing up entire military bases with a smirk. But soon the shine wears off and you realize Avalanche Studios crafted a Platinum built on grind, obsession, and chaos-induced madness. 1,000 sabotages, 1,000 collectibles, 50 sadistic challenges. It's less about skill and more about whether your willpower can outlast the map's endless icons. Every trophy demands hours of repetition, patience, and the ability to laugh at absurd physics while you slowly lose your mind. By the end, you're not celebrating, you're crawling across the finish line, broken but victorious. The Platinum isn't a badge of honor, it's proof that you willingly became Pano's most destructive force and survived. It's beautiful, brutal, and utterly exhausting. This Platinum journey took me over 75 hours to complete. I can honestly say that I would rather stop gaming entirely than ever trying to get this Platinum again. We will get right into the journey to master completion. The very first sip of destruction. Just Cause 2 doesn't start you off gently, it tosses you into Panau with a grappling hook, a gun, and a mandate to turn this tropical paradise into Swiss cheese. Cause chaos for the first time, they said. Simple enough, blow up a fuel depot, torch some propaganda, shoot a barrel. But this is Just Cause 2, so nothing ever stops at one explosion. One truck goes up, then 3, then the gas tank beside it, and before you know it, you've got a Michael Bay film on fast forward. And that's the addiction kicking in. You're no longer a mercenary, you're a demolition junkie. That little chaos bar at the top of the screen might as well be a nicotine patch for your destructive tendencies. Congratulations, you've officially started your career as Pano's most unwanted tourist. And trust me, it only gets messier from here. Welcome to Panau, the land of beaches, jungles, and enough military checkpoints to make you question why you didn't just stay home and play Animal Crossing. The first mission throws you into the madness with that iconic grappling hook and parachute combo that basically defines this game. 1 minute you're chasing down some intel, the next you're Spider, man with a machine gun zipping across rooftops while bullets whistle past your ears. The story itself, thin as paper. Some dictators running the island, factions are fighting for power, yada yada. You're not here for plot, you're here for the chaos, and Panau rolls out the welcome mat by smacking you in the face with an explosion the size of a small country. Mission 1 is less of an introduction and more of a baptism by napalm. And just like that, you're in. A mercenary on vacation, with vacation, meaning mass destruction as far as the eye can see. Casino mission, nothing screams secret agent like dangling from a neon sign while armed goons spray bullets in every direction. The mission kicks off with you crashing a high-stakes party at Panau's glitziest casino, because subtlety clearly isn't in Rico's vocabulary. Instead of blackjack and cocktails, you're treated to rooftop chases, exploding cars, and waves of enemies who all apparently skipped aim training. The highlight, grappling hook chaos in a neon jungle. You'll either look like a stuntman in a Michael Bay film or like a drunk spider, man trying not to faceplant. Either way, the mission ends with enough explosions to bankrupt the casino without anyone rolling a single dice. By the time it's over, you've introduced yourself to Panau's criminal underworld the only way Rico knows how, by blowing up half the damn building and leaving a trail of bodies where poker tables used to be. This is the moment Just Cause 2 stops pretending to be a shooter and admits what it really is, a playground for pyromaniacs. The game literally challenges you to annihilate 30 objects in a single minute. Not enemies, not vehicles, just stuff. Fuel tanks, propaganda trailers, guard towers. If it looks remotely important to Pano's infrastructure, your job is to reduce it to flaming rubble. And it's glorious. You're not just shooting things, you're conducting a symphony of chaos where every explosion is a drum beat and every collapsing tower is a guitar solo. The problem, that damn timer. 60 seconds feels like nothing, and halfway through you start panicking, firing rockets at anything with a texture. Did that palm tree count? Probably not, but who cares? It's gone now. By the time the clock runs out, you're left standing in a crater that used to be a military base, grinning like a lunatic. Mission accomplished. Enter Bolo Santosi, the faction leader with the most hypnotic accent in video game history. The White Tiger mission is less about subtle politics and more about realizing you've just sold your soul to a woman who smiles while ordering massacres. She wants a rival taken down, and naturally that means Rico's about to blow up half the jungle to make it happen. Cue the grappling hook ballot, where you're juggling gunfire, explosions, and Rico's questionable sense of physics. 1 second you're hijacking a jeep, the next you're dangling from a helicopter, turning Panau into your own personal fireworks show. The story tries to frame this as a power move, but really it's just Rico doing what Rico does best, turning military operations into carnival rides of destruction. When it's all over, Santosi purrs her approval, and you realize two things. Panau is doomed, and you're having way too much fun watching it burn. This is where the game stops being a shooter and fully embraces its identity as an open-world demolition simulator. Sabotage sounds like some sneaky spy activity. Cutting wires, planting discrete charges, maybe hacking a terminal. Nope. In Just Cause 2, sabotage means you walk into a base and blow up literally anything painted red. Fuel tanks, radar dishes, generators. It's basically a coloring book for psychopaths. Hitting 150 of these isn't a side objective, it's a lifestyle. You'll find yourself detouring from missions just to blow up a power station because, hey, progress bar go brr. By the time you're done, you've personally set Panau's GDP back about 40 years. The government keeps rebuilding, you keep destroying, and it becomes less like a rebellion and more like an abusive relationship between Rico and public infrastructure. Congratulations, you're not a mercenary anymore, you're Panau's most enthusiastic urban renewal project. The game wants you to believe this is about precision, patience, and skill. In reality, it's about realizing the enemy AI in Just Cause 2 has the survival instincts of a watermelon at a shooting range. You line up, squeeze the trigger, and pop, helmet or not, their head explodes like a piñata filled with regret. 50 times. And let's be honest, you're not doing this from a safe sniper's perch like some elite assassin. No, you're dangling upside down from a helicopter, parachuting sideways through a firefight, or standing 3 feet away because subtlety died 2 trophies ago. By the 30th headshot, it stops feeling like a challenge and starts feeling like a factory job. Aim, click, ragdoll, repeat. When you finally hit 50, the game pats you on the back for your marksmanship. But deep down you know you just became Panau's most prolific brain surgeon, with bullets as your scalpel. Nothing screams rescue mission like strapping on a parachute, loading up explosives, and heading straight into the mountains where enemies outnumber you 10 to 1. On paper, it's about saving a comrade. In practice, it's about Rico turning a scenic mountaintop into a war crime. The enemies swarm like ants, bullets shred the snow, and you're left wondering if this is supposed to be a rescue or a suicide pact. The only thing keeping you alive is the grappling hook, because apparently physics takes a coffee break whenever Rico's involved. One moment you're zip, lining across cliffs. The next you're dual, wielding like a man auditioning for Die Hard 60 Pinot Peaks. By the time you find the poor bastard you're rescuing, he's probably more traumatized by watching you level half the mountain than by his actual capture. Mission success: Rico saves 1 man by killing 200. Truly humanitarian work. If Just Cause 2 had a trophy that summed up its entire personality, it's this one. Gravity isn't just a law of physics here, it's a weapon, and you're its sadistic lawyer. The game hands you a grappling hook and says, see those soldiers, make them reconsider their life choices mid-air, so you do. Off rooftops, off cliffs, off radio towers, you become the Grim Reaper with a bungee cord. The first few are funny. By number 10, you're giggling like a psychopath. By number 20, you're role-playing as a Panau insurance claims adjuster. Cause of death: sudden introduction to gravity. Hitting 30 turns you into a philosopher, staring down at ragdoll corpses scattered like confetti and thinking, was Newton onto something, or was he just really bored like me? Either way, the trophy pops and you realize you've weaponized the planet itself. Who needs guns when gravity does the cleanup?
Cover me, I'm going in!
Here's where the game tricks you into becoming a glorified garbage man. Collect 100 resource items. It says, sounds simple, until you realize Pinot is the size of a small continent, and the developers scattered these goodies like a toddler tossing Lego across a living room. Fuel depots, cash stashes, weapon parts, you name it, Rico's pockets are bottomless. At first, it's exciting. You stumble across a shiny crate, open it, and get that little dopamine hit. Then you need 99 more. Suddenly, you're less action hero and more Odic sniffing around the jungle for another fix of glowy blue boxes. By the time you hit 100, you've hijacked jets, climbed mountains, and swum through shark-infested waters just to grab a crate worth about 3 bullets. The irony, these resource items feel less like treasure and more like Pinot's cursed Easter egg hunt. Congrats, Rico, world's deadliest scavenger. This is the moment you stop pretending Just Cause 2 is about liberation, politics, or story. Nope, it's about Rico becoming a one-man natural disaster. 750 kills. Let that sink in. That's not taking down a dictatorship, that's small-town genocide, and the game rewards you for it like you just collected Pokémon cards. At first, it feels almost noble, you're fighting soldiers, after all. But after the 300th corpse, the lines blur. You're mowing down jeep convoys, blowing up helicopters, tethering soldiers to gas canisters for impromptu space programs. The game doesn't even bat an eye. By the time you're done, Rico's body count rivals most plagues in recorded history. And the worst part, you barely notice. It just becomes background noise, like swatting mosquitoes, except the mosquitoes are armed with rifles and screaming as they ragdoll across Pinot. Trophy unlocked, you're officially a war crime with sunglasses. Pinot isn't just big, it's obnoxiously big. The developers took one look at the map and said, yes, let's make this island roughly the size of an anxiety attack. To earn this trophy, you need to discover 100 locations, which basically means Rico becomes the world's most violent tourist. Airports, check. Tiny fishing villages, check. Random huts in the jungle that look like someone's grandma lives there. Also check before you blow them up for good measure. At first, exploring feels exciting. Rico's parachuting across snowy mountains and tropical beaches like a postcard on steroids. But around the 70th location, you're just muttering, yep, more trees. Yep, another shack. Oh look, another oil rig. By the time you unlock Globetrotter, you've seen more of Pinot than its own citizens, who are probably still hiding under their beds from the chaos you caused. Congrats, you're basically Lonely Planet's least wanted writer. This is where Just Cause 2 basically hands you the keys to Pinot and says, go nuts. Cars, bikes, jeeps, trucks, tuk-tuks, yes, even those glorified shopping carts with 3 wheels count. At first, it's thrilling. You're hijacking sports cars, drifting through palm-lined roads, feeling like Rico's auditioning for Fast and Furious Dictator Drift. Then you hit vehicle number 17 and realize half these rides handle like wet soap. The motorbikes, death traps. The jeeps, clunky lawnmowers with guns. And don't even get me started on the tractors. By the time you're hunting for number 30, you're combing villages like a repo man, yanking grandmas off scooters just to check it off the list. When the trophy finally pops, you've technically driven 30 vehicles, but in reality you've joyridden your way through Pinot like a kleptomaniac with a grappling hook. Rico doesn't test drive cars, he destroys them. Here's where the plot pretends to matter again. 3 rival factions, 3 wannabe warlords, and Rico, Pinot's favorite hired gun, caught in the middle like a drunk wedding planner trying to keep everyone happy. The mission throws you into yet another spectacular firefight, because apparently Rico can't even order lunch without detonating a fuel depot. You're forced to cozy up to these. Of chaos, each one as trustworthy as a used car salesman with a grenade launcher. The game wants you to care about their politics, but let's be real, you're just here for the explosions and the jet hijacks. By the end, you've paved the way for one of these maniacs to grab more power, all while smiling through Rico's sunglasses like it's just another Tuesday. 3 kings, 1 mercenary, and about 1,000 corpses later, you're still wondering who's actually running Pano. Spoiler, it's you. Ah yes, the scenic route through Panau. 75 kilometers doesn't sound like much, until you realize the roads here are less infrastructure and more death trap drawn by a drunk with a ruler. You start out enjoying the ride, cruising along in a stolen jeep, maybe humming a tune. Then reality sets in. Every corner hides a military checkpoint, every straightaway has some lunatic truck swerving into you, and the physics engine makes your car bounce like it's on invisible trampolines. Halfway through, you give up on enjoying the scenery and just floor it, mowing down palm trees, civilians, and the occasional propaganda truck because hey, it all counts. By the time the trophy pops, you've racked up more insurance claims than an entire season of Top Gear. Congratulations, you didn't just travel 75 kilometers, you survived Panau's national highway system, which is basically Mad Max with palm trees.
1,000 blessings on you, Sadadu. Mission accomplished.
This is the kind of trophy that makes you realize the developers were either geniuses or sadists. It's not enough to just kill enemies, you have to turn them into meat pie atus mid-air. So you grapple them, blast them off rooftops, launch them with explosives, or dangle them like unwilling stunt performers. Then, as their bodies flail helplessly, you finish the job with a bullet, missile, or whatever chaos toy you have on hand. The first few kills are hilarious. By number 10, you're cackling like the Joker. By number 20, you're staging elaborate circus acts. And for my next trick, Rico will juggle 3 soldiers and a jeep with live grenades. By 30, it's less about combat and more about creative writing in the language of ragdolls. The trophy pops, and you realize you've invented a new Olympic sport, extreme assisted gravity homicide. Gold medal performance, Rico. This is the game's way of saying, forget logic, go be Spider, man with a parachute. The goal sounds simple, gain altitude using only your grappling hook and parachute. In practice, it's a sweaty workout for your thumbs. Grapple, float, repeat until you start questioning your life choices. Rico doesn't climb mountains, he yanks himself up like a caffeinated squirrel, dangling from cliff sides while soldiers below wonder why their bullets can't reach him. The first 100 meters feel impressive. At 200, you're swearing at gravity. By 300, your controller is begging for mercy. Finally, you land triumphantly at the top, looking down at Panau like you've conquered the world. The trophy pops, but deep down you know the truth. You just spent 20 minutes doing the world's dumbest CrossFit session with a grappling hook. Still, Rico makes it look badass. Sort of. This mission is where the stakes get cranked up and the bullets get even louder. You're diving straight into the heart of enemy territory, because apparently Rico thinks stealth means parachuting into a base like a human cannonball. The setup: sneak into the enemy's lair. The execution: shoot literally everything that moves, blow up anything painted red, and hope the cutscene still calls it a success. Soldiers pour in like they're on sale, helicopters swarm overhead, and Rico's grappling around like he's late for a circus audition. By the time you reach the den, it looks less like a base and more like a junkyard on fire. And yet the game calls this a mission accomplished. You didn't infiltrate, you didn't sneak, you bulldozed your way through a military hornet's nest and called it strategy. Rico doesn't go into dens, he burns them down from the inside out. This is the big one. The mission where the title of the game finally makes sense, or at least pretends to. By now, the factions are all neck deep in their turf wars, the dictator's forces are pissed, and Rico is basically Panau's personal hurricane. The mission itself, pure chaos. You're storming through waves of enemies, hijacking vehicles mid-fight, and blowing up government property like it's a national sport. The narrative tries to frame this as some noble fight for freedom, but let's be honest, you're not liberating Panau. You're reducing it to scrap metal and wondering why people still cheer. By the time you wrap it up, Rico has single-handedly destabilized an entire regime, made every faction suspiciously powerful, and probably wiped out half the island's population. But hey, the game says you did it for a just cause, so who are we to argue? Explosions are always morally correct here. This is where Just Cause 2 stops being a game and starts being a sadistic experiment. Hardcore mode turns Rico from an unkillable action hero into a fragile meat pie adder with a grappling hook. Enemies don't just shoot at you. They snipe you from across the jungle, blow up your vehicles before you even start the engine, and chase you with helicopters like you owe them child support. Every mission becomes a high-stakes gamble. One wrong move, one missed parachute, one slightly delayed grapple, and you're splattered across Panau like an overly confident pizza delivery. Finishing hardcore isn't about skill, it's about stubbornness, caffeine, and a willingness to suffer. By the time the credits roll, you're less legendary agent and more broken human held together by rage and quick time events. The trophy pops, your controller is cracked, and you swear you'll never do it again, until the platinum whispers your name. This trophy is less about skill and more about Rico being a lunatic with no fear of gravity. The requirement: leap from a ridiculous height, fall for 1,000 meters and survive, which basically means you're climbing to the highest cliff antenna or conveniently placed skyscraper, whispering way low, before hurling yourself off like a suicidal action figure. The first second is thrilling, wind rushing past, Rico screaming like he just stubbed his toe. By the 10th second, you're checking your altitude meter, wondering if you're going to hit 1,000 or just the pavement. The landing is the worst. Pull the parachute too early and you feel like a coward. Too late and you smear yourself across Panau's jungle floor like a Jackson Pollock painting. Nail it though, and the trophy pops, confirming Rico has defied death, logic, and maybe even physics itself. For Rico, falling isn't failure, it's a lifestyle. This trophy sounds easy, but in practice it's one of the most stressful, relaxing moments the game offers. Fly a plane near the ground for 30 seconds, no problem. Until you realize Panau's terrain is a patchwork of trees, hills, and sudden cliffs designed specifically to ruin your day. You're white-knuckling the controller, sweat dripping as you scrape treetops like a drunken crop duster. Every second feels like a coin toss. Will you glide gracefully or lawn, dart into the jungle at 300 miles an hour? Add in the game's janky flight physics, and suddenly 30 seconds feels like 30 years. But when the trophy finally pops, you exhale like you just survived a hostage negotiation. Rico climbs out of the plane looking smug, while the wreckage of your previous 5 attempts smolders in the background. Congrats, you didn't fly. You surfed the edge of a disaster and called it style. Remember when you did 3 of these and thought, that's enough? Yeah, the game laughs at that. 9 stronghold takeovers means 9 repeat performances of Rico's favorite routine: storm the base, shoot every soldier in sight, blow up their entire retirement fund worth of equipment, then plant a flag so some faction leader can take credit. Each one is basically the same endless gunfire, a few enemy jeeps that explode if you sneeze at them, and Rico grappling around like an adrenaline junkie Tarzan. By the 5th stronghold, you're no longer liberating Panau, you're running a demolition company with no paperwork. By the 9th, you can practically predict every spawn point, every tower, every dramatic cutscene where the faction leader pretends they did something. Trophy unlocked, you've conquered 9 bases, but let's be honest, it feels more like you bulldozed 9 office buildings just to hear someone clap. This trophy is pure chaos distilled into a stopwatch. 1 minute, 20 bodies. Simple math, horrifying execution. You roll up to a base, load your guns, and start spraying lead like it's Black Friday at the ammunition store. The first few kills come easy. Soldiers practically line up to be your cannon fodder. But halfway through, panic sets in. The timer ticks, enemies start hiding behind crates like they suddenly value their lives, and you're juggling grenades, rocket launchers, and sheer desperation. Grappling hooks someone into a fuel tank. Boom, counts. Mow down 3 guys with an APC, perfect. By the 19th kill, you're foaming at the mouth, praying for one more idiot to round the corner. Then he does, poor bastard, and the trophy pops. You exhale, surrounded by flaming wreckage and a small army of corpses. Congratulations, you've just turned mass murder into a timed sport. Olympic judges approve. Here's where Just Cause 2 reminds you that Rico doesn't actually need guns to be terrifying. His fists are weapons of mass destruction all on their own. 50 melee kills might not sound like much, but try running up to heavily armed soldiers with nothing but a punch button while bullets turn the air into Swiss cheese. Every melee kill is less of a fight and more of a quick, time execution. Rico slaps, stabs, or knees enemies into ragdoll oblivion with the efficiency of an action movie stunt double who's very behind on rent. By number 20, you're laughing at how absurd it looks. By number 40, you're wondering why the soldiers don't just run away. And by number 50, you've rebranded yourself from mercenary to walking bar fight with sunglasses. Trophy unlocked, you've proven Rico doesn't need an arsenal. All he needs is bad manners and iron fists. This is where the real grind peeks out from behind the curtain. Reach 100% in 15 locations doesn't mean you casually stroll through a town and call it a day. No, you have to score every inch, blow up every propaganda truck, yank down every statue, loot every glowing crate. 15 times. At first, it's satisfying. You clear a small village, the chaos bar maxes out, and the map gives you that sweet checkmark. But then the bigger locations hit. Bases sprawling across mountainsides, with collectibles hidden in places only mountain goats can reach. You're crawling through vents, parachuting onto rooftops, and combing jungles like a detective on meth. By the time the 15th location dings complete, you're not even celebrating, you're exhausted. Trophy unlocked, you've officially turned Rico into Panau's most destructive cleaning service. Liberation never felt so much like unpaid janitorial work. Challenges in Just Cause 2 are the developers' way of saying, you seem to be having fun, let's ruin that. Races, time trials, destruction sprees, all designed to test just how much patience you actually have. The first couple are easy enough. You hijack a car, zip through checkpoints, maybe crash into 3 or 4 bisses. Then the difficulty spikes faster than Rico's grappling hook. Helicopter races through tight canyons, stunt runs across rickety bridges, and timed chaos events where one missed shot ruins everything. By the 10th challenge, you're gripping the controller like it owes you money, muttering threats to digital polygons. When the trophy finally pops, you don't feel accomplished, you feel relieved. Like surviving a dental appointment you didn't want in the first place. Congratulations, you've endured 10 of Panau's most sadistic carnival games. And guess what? The game has 50 more waiting. Sweet, merciless fiction. This is where the game tells you, hey, remember all that serious mercenary business. Forget it. Go do donuts and barrel rolls like a lunatic. Stunt driver points are awarded for pulling off reckless maneuvers in vehicles, which basically means driving like you're actively trying to void your insurance policy. Jump off ramps, points. Drift until the car handles like a drunk shopping cart, points. Flip the vehicle 3 times before it explodes into confetti, jackpot. Of course, Panau isn't exactly built for smooth stunt practice. You're launching tucks off jungle cliffs, turning jeeps into submarines, and praying the physics engine doesn't decide to have a seizure mid-barrel roll. By the time you rack up 100 points, you're less stunt driver and more walking lawsuit. The trophy pops, and you realize Rico's RA Some now includes mercenary terrorist and part-time Evil Knievel impersonator. Panau's roads will never recover. This isn't combat, this is straight up sadism. The game looks you dead in the eye and says, hey, want to commit war crimes with slapstick flair. So you do, you tether some unlucky soldier to your jeep, floor the accelerator, and watch as he skips across the pavement like a bloody ragdoll water ski. The first time, it's hilarious. By the third, you're laughing harder than you should. By the fifth, you realize you've just created Panau's least fun amusement park ride. Cars crash, soldiers scream, and Rico. He's stone-faced, sunglasses on, like this is just another Tuesday commute. It's not clean, it's not heroic, but it's undeniably effective. And when the trophy pops, you don't feel proud. You feel like you've graduated from mercenary to certified cartoon villain. Somewhere, while Coyote is nodding in approval. If you thought dragging soldiers behind your car was cruel, this one asks you to reinvent demolition derby as a murder method. The setup tether something, ANTHIJU, to your car, then swing it into enemies like you're auditioning for Methbusters Homicide Edition. Gas canisters, crates, dumpsters, it doesn't matter. As long as it smashes a soldier into salsa, it counts. Of course, this isn't smooth in practice. The physics engine treats tethered objects like drunk boomerangs, bouncing, flipping, and sometimes taking you out instead of the enemy. So you end up driving in circles, laughing like a maniac while a dumpster swings wildly behind you, occasionally connecting with some poor Panoan guard who definitely didn't sign up for this. When the fifth one finally goes down, the trophy dings, and you realize you've just weaponized trash. Rico isn't a mercenary anymore, he's a chaotic janitor with a kill streak. On paper, this sounds like a fun sightseeing tour. In reality, it's 30 heart attacks strung together. Pano's bridges aren't wide, welcoming arches, they're concrete guillotines designed to punish sloppy pilots. You line up your rickety jet or crop duster, squeeze through a gap with inches to spare, and pray the game's janky physics don't decide to randomly nosedive you into a support beam. By bridge number 10, your palms are sweaty. By bridge 20, you're bargaining with God. By bridge 29, you're screaming at the TV because a single pixel of railing scraped your wing and turned you into modern art on the riverbank. Finally, you glide under that 30th bridge, the trophy pops, and you collapse into your chair like you just survived a combat tour. Tourists buy postcards of Pano's bridges. Rico flies under them at Mach 2, just to flex. This trophy proves the devs at Avalanche were giggling psychopaths. It's not enough to kill enemies, you have to string them up like party decorations and beat them to death. Step 1. Grapple hook some poor soldier into the air, dangling like a terrified marionette. Step 2. Run up and smack him until he stops moving. Repeat 5 times. It's absurd, it's cruel, and it's hilarious in a way that makes you question your own morality. The soldiers flail around like human punching bags, screaming while Rico calmly strolls up to deliver a melee finisher that looks more like a bar fight in zero gravity. By the time you finish your 5th airborne execution, the trophy dings, and you're left cackling like a villain at a children's birthday party. No candy spills out of these pietas, just blood bullets and your lingering shame. Best party ever.
Let's finish this!
This trophy turns you into the world's most sadistic puppeteer. Grapple an enemy, yank them into the air, and then, well, let gravity and bullets do the rest. Pano's soldiers become dangling ornaments, twitching helplessly while Rico calmly unloads lead into them like he's decorating a Christmas tree with corpses. The first few are funny. By number 10, you're staging elaborate hanging gardens of terrified soldiers. By 20, you're doing it just to see how far their ragdolls will swing before crumpling. By 30, you've created an impromptu art installation called the Death Circus of Pano. When the trophy finally pops, you don't feel like a hero. You feel like you should be on a government watch list. Rico doesn't liberate people, he suspends them mid-air and blasts them into oblivion. If gravity wasn't your accomplice before, it definitely is now. This is where Rico graduates from chaotic mercenary to corporate assassin with frequent flyer miles. Pano's colonels are scattered all over the map, each one protected by a small army and usually stationed in the most inconvenient places possible. Mountains, jungles, military bases. You name it, these guys picked it. The missions all boil down to the same grim formula: infiltrate, dodge 100 bullets, and kill one overdressed officer who thought a fancy hat would protect him. And you'll do it 25 times. By the 10th colonel, you're yawning. By the 15th, you're speedrunning the kills just to get it over with. By the 25th, Rico is less a freedom fighter and more the world's most overworked HR manager doing mass terminations. When the trophy pops, it feels less like an achievement and more like paperwork. Still, Panau has 25 fewer mustaches now, you're welcome. If 10 challenges felt like a chore, 50 is a full-blown punishment. Races through impossible terrain, stunt runs that demand surgical precision with Rico's parachute, timed chaos events where one missed explosion means starting over. This is where Just Cause 2 stops being fun and starts feeling like unpaid labor. The variety isn't the problem, it's the sheer repetition. Every race is just another excuse for Pano's physics engine to laugh at you as a tuck flips into orbit. By challenge 30, your hands ache. By 40, you're bargaining with your console like it's a hostage situation. And by the 50th, you're dead inside, watching the trophy pop with all the enthusiasm of a DMV clerk stamping forms. Rico might still look cool while he pulls off stunts, but you know the truth. You've spent hours suffering through digital busywork just to earn 2 smug words trophy unlocked. This is where the game transforms Rico into the most overworked errand boy in Pano. 49 missions for the 3 factions, each one more ridiculous than the last. Blow up this base. Escort this idiot who can't drive. Hijack that plane. Kill this colonel again. By the 20th mission, you're realizing these factions aren't allies, they're parasites. They sit back, sip cocktails, and let you do the dirty work while they argue over who gets to run the island you've been systematically turning into ash. By the 40th mission, every objective feels like déjà vu. Another convoy ambush, another sabotage, Another voice on the radio pretending they're the brains of the operation. By the 49th, you're running on pure spite. When the trophy finally unlocks, it doesn't feel like trust, it feels like Stockholm Syndrome. Rico isn't an ally, he's Pano's most abused, unpaid intern. This one sounds poetic. Rico, the lone mercenary, standing at the highest peak of Pano, gazing over the chaos he's unleashed. In reality, it's 20 minutes of grappling, parachuting, and swearing at the terrain because every rock is an obstacle and the map hates you. You claw your way up, one awkward grapple at a time, slipping, tumbling, and ragdolling like an idiot until finally, you plant your boots on the summit. And what greets you? A breathtaking view and a crushing realization that the game just made you climb a mountain for bragging rights. No enemies to kill, no explosions, no chaos. Just Rico standing there, sunglasses reflecting the sunrise like he's auditioning for a motivational poster. The trophy pops, and you realize it's less about the view and more about Avalanche Studios laughing at you for doing virtual mountaineering instead of blowing stuff up.
Word! Again.
This trophy turns Rico into the world's most violent driving instructor. Forget guns, forget explosions, your car is now a weapon of mass destruction. The setup is simple: see enemy, aim vehicle, accelerate. The first few kills are hilarious, soldiers bouncing off your hood like you're playing Carmageddon in paradise. But then reality sets in, vehicles in Just Cause 2 handle like drunken cows on roller skates, and soldiers have the uncanny ability to dodge at the last second. So you spend half the time veering off cliffs, ramming trees, and turning your Jeep into modern art. By the 20th kill, you've stopped caring about efficiency. It's personal now. You will flatten them, even if it means wrecking 10 cars in the process. When the 30th soldier finally ragdolls under your bumper, the trophy pops, and Rico drives off like nothing happened. Pano's traffic laws, permanently revoked. This trophy is the definition of Rico's day job, ripping terrified soldiers out of their seats like a pissed-off Uber passenger. Cars, trucks, tanks, helicopters. If it moves, Rico's going to borrow it. The animation never gets old. Rico grapples in, punches the driver into ragdoll purgatory, and casually slides into the seat like he owns the place. The first 10 hijacks are fun. By 20, you're speedrunning it, not even bothering to drive the thing after. Just yank, eject, repeat. By 40, you're questioning why Pano even bothers putting people in vehicles anymore. They know Rico's out there. It's like hiring drivers just so he has something to do. Finally, the 50th hijack dings the trophy, and you realize you haven't been liberating Pano at all. You've just been running the island's most violent car rental service. Rico Roger Guy's mercenary, chaos agent, kleptomaniac Chauffier. If 15 locations felt like cleaning up someone else's mess, 100 locations is basically Pano's unpaid janitorial internship. Every town, every military outpost, every oil rig, you're expected to comb through them like an obsessive compulsive exterminator. Blow up all the red stuff, loot all the crates, yank down every propaganda billboard. It starts fun. You're liberating villages with fireworks and chaos. But by location 60, you're dead inside counting resource crates like a depressed Easter bunny. At 80, you're questioning your sanity as you parachute into yet another identical jungle checkpoint. And when that 100th location finally hits 100%, the trophy pops, sure, but you're left staring at the map, realizing there are still hundreds more. You didn't free Pano, you just got tricked into doing the developer's busy work. Rico doesn't roam free, he roams compulsively, one explosion at a time.
It's a tough job, but somebody's got it.
This is the moment the game pats you on the back and says, "Congrats, you've wasted half your life." 50% sounds encouraging, but in Just Cause 2, it's a cruel joke, because what you don't realize until this point is that hitting 50% takes dozens of hours of blowing up fuel tanks, looting crates, and chasing down challenges. And that's just halfway. The map still mocks you with hundreds of uncompleted icons, like a to-do list from hell. By now, Rico has leveled armies, hijacked planes, and basically turned Pano into a Warzone theme park. Yet the game shrugs and says, "Good effort, you're halfway there." When the trophy finally pops, it feels less like an achievement and more like a threat. You thought this was long. Try hitting 75 or 100. Welcome to Trophy Hunter Purgatory, Population U.
The ancestral skulls.
This is where Rico stops being a mercenary and starts being Pano's most aggressive treasure hunter. Faction items are scattered everywhere, statues, documents, mysterious crates glowing like radioactive Easter eggs. Collecting 150 of them sounds manageable, until you realize Pano is the size of a small continent, and the devs hid these things like drunk Easter bunnies with a grudge. The first 20 feel exciting. By 50, you're wandering jungles, tethering jeeps just to reach some random rooftop crate. By 100, you're muttering to yourself, following the beeping signal like a desperate addict chasing their next hit. Finally, at 150, the trophy pops, but instead of pride, you feel shame. Shame because you know there are hundreds more still waiting, mocking you. Rico didn't become a benefactor. He became a kleptomaniac with unlimited storage space. If hoarding was a profession, Panal would have just crowned its king.
Another one of our revered skulls, Sir Dadu.
1000, let that number sink in. The game doesn't want you to be destructive, it wants you to become a full-time demolition company. Sabotages are the backbone of Panal's chaos. Fuel tanks, generators, antennas, propaganda machines, anything painted red is basically begging you to blow it sky high. At first it's addictive, you're racking up explosions like a kid in a candy shop. But somewhere around 300, the fun starts curdling into madness. By 600, you're destroying things out of spite, not joy. By 900, you're a hollow shell of a person, watching yet another radar tower collapse while whispering, "Make it stop." Finally, the 1000th explosion hits, the trophy pops, and your screen is filled with fire and smoke. At this point, Rico isn't a mercenary. He's Pano's most catastrophic natural disaster. Earthquakes, typhoons, forget it. Rico's sabotage streak makes them look like light rain.
We are sending a bird.
This isn't a trophy, it's a sentence. 1000 glowing crates scattered across every jungle, mountain, and back alley in Pano. At first, it feels like treasure hunting. You spot the glow, crack open the crate, and get that tiny rush of dopamine. Then you realize there are 999 more. By 200, you're climbing cliffs for one lousy weapon part. By 500, you're raiding remote islands like a desperate raccoon. By 800, you're hearing the crate found sound effect in your sleep. And when you finally hit 1000, the trophy pops, but you're not celebrating. You're broken, hunched over the controller, whispering, "Never again," like a war veteran. Rico didn't leave no rock unturned. He bulldozed Panao's entire geology just to satisfy the sadism of Avalanche Studios. Congratulations, you're now officially the world's most dangerous scrap collector. This isn't a trophy, it's a full-time job at Pano's DMV. 104 vehicles, cars, bikes, jeeps, tuk-tuks, helicopters, jets, boats, even tractors that handle like dying cows. The game doesn't just want you to see them, it wants you to drive every single one like you're auditioning for Top Gear War Crimes Edition. At first, it's fun. You're hijacking sports cars, buzzing fighter jets under bridges. But by vehicle 50, you're scoring remote villages, yanking old ladies off scooters just to tick another box. By 80, you're dragging boats out of harbors for 3 seconds of driving before they explode. And by 104, you're not celebrating, you're crying, surrounded by the wreckage of everything with wheels or wings. Rico didn't just drive vehicles, he committed mass vehicular abuse on an island-wide scale. Trophy unlocked, congratulations, you're Panal's worst rental car customer in history. This trophy is less about combat skill and more about transforming Rico into a caffeinated death machine. 50 kills in a row without taking damage. On Panal, where soldiers spawn like cockroaches and helicopters drop out of the sky just to ruin your streak. The only way to pull this off, cheese it, hide behind cover, spam grenades, or use Rico's overpowered assault rifles like you're running a pest control service. The first 10 kills feel tense. By 30, your palms are sweaty and you're screaming at the screen every time a stray bullet whizzes by. By 49, you're sweating harder than Rico parachuting into a volcano. When that 50th body hits the ground and the trophy pops, you exhale like you just defused a nuclear bomb. Invincible warrior, more like invincible cheese artist. Still, 50 corpses later, Rico's kill streak makes Rambo look underachieving. If 50% felt like a marathon, 75% is an ultramarathon through hell with a backpack full of explosives. By now, you've liberated towns, blown up half the island's infrastructure, and collected enough glowing crates to open a hardware store. And yet the game still mocks you with that cursed completion bar. Every percent feels like dragging yourself through mud, hours of busy work for a single tick forward. At 70%, you're dead inside. At 73%, you're bargaining with your console, promising to eat vegetables if it just gives you the trophy early. But no, it demands the grind. When the 75% finally clicks, the trophy pops, and you realize you've spent more time turning Panao into rubble than some people spend earning a degree. Rico isn't a perfectionist. He's an obsessive maniac with a grappling hook, and Avalanche made sure you suffered for it. And And here it is, the Platinum. The digital crown that says, yes, I destroyed an entire island, enslaved my sanity to glowing crates, and turned Rico into a one-man natural disaster, all for this shiny icon. Getting here wasn't fun. It was a slow descent into case-induced madness. You've hijacked jets, murdered colonels, driven every vehicle Pinot had to offer sea, and crashed most of them. Strung soldiers up like party decorations, and blown up enough red barrels to fuel Michael Bay's career for another decade. This isn't a celebration, it's survival. The Platinum doesn't say, you're a hero. It says, you endured. Pinot lies in ruins, its people traumatized, its infrastructure non-existent. Rico stands on a pile of rubble, sunglasses gleaming, grappling hook dangling at his side. And you're left asking yourself one haunting question, was it worth it? Who of course it was.
A few moments later.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What's gonna be the game? Let's see. This is the game that's gonna be the next Platinum. Give me a good game, please. Okay. Heavy Rain.